Chelsea won, Manchester United nil. That's what I'm talking about. We got business done. We handled them. It was not an easy game. It was not a pretty game. And honestly, for a good amount of that game, I thought we were going to end up losing it. But in the end, we got the win over 16th place United, which, that shouldn't even be celebrated at this point in time. But we'll take what we can. And that's an important win for us for the Champions League hopes at the end of the season. But why does United always have to show up for us? Like, I'm pretty sure these guys haven't won a game since, I don't know, March, like early March. I think they beat Leicester. I heard them say during the game that they've only beaten relegated teams since January. So why do you have to show up and try against Chelsea when you have the Europa League final next week? Just give it a rest, bro. They always have to show up for us. I think earlier in the season, it was Amarim's first game too was against us. Or no, maybe it was Ruben Nistelrooy. He had his first game. They sacked Ten Hag for the Chelsea game. I was like, come on, bro, give us a break. But this time, it wasn't enough. We got the job done, 1-0. We take what we can. Even at the end of the game, they were wasting time. That's what I like to see. Usually, you can complain about that, whatever. But we have a mission. We want to get Champions League this season. You have 1-0. United can hit us on the counter at any point in time. Handle business. See it out. I love it. You love it. You love it. So let's talk a little bit about the game. The main events. Early in the game, we had an early chance from Madueke. Beautiful ball from Palmer. Beautiful ball. Madueke could not keep it down. And this is like the first example. I'm tired of the narrative that Palmer has been playing poorly. You can impact the game without goals and assists. The GA obsession, I'm tired of it. Palmer, that was a beautiful ball to Madueke, and he just could not finish. And that was kind of the theme of the game. Madueke, come on, bro. You got to finish your chances. You got to finish your dinner. But, that was the first big chance. Couldn't keep it down, and we could have gone up 1-0 there. 15 minutes in, though, Harry Maguire, honestly the best striker that was playing in this game, had a goal disallowed, and it was by the narrowest of margins. But yeah, VAR is VAR. He was offsides. It was a solid header, and a good ball from Bruno in as well. Bruno and Palmer were just going band for band, creating chances. But I was about to lose it. I'm not gonna lie. Once we conceded that, I was gonna lose it, but thankfully it was offsides, and I was able to keep my head. But solid start to the game for United, and it was a sign of things to come because they were putting the pressure on. They had a lot of the possession. As you can see here on FootMob, they even say a lot of the possession, 53%. I think in the first half it was even more one-sided to United, but it didn't matter in the end because we were putting on the shots, especially second half. This is probably heavily skewed because of the second half. But yeah, of course that goal was disallowed. Love to see it. Reece James though almost had a screamer outside the box. It was reminiscent of the Benjamin Pavard goal in the World Cup for France. Beautiful, hits it clean volley across the keeper. It was going outside the post, curling back in, but it ends up hitting the post. That would have been a worldie from Reece James. Yeah, I would have ended up hitting the post, so that was unfortunate for us. But Enzo, we had another shot from Palmer, I believe, that got deflected. No, Onana saved it. And it came back to Enzo, and he absolutely skied it out of there. But thankfully, he was offside, so, I'm not going to harp on it too much. But if that wasn't offside and he skied that, oh my God, I would have been cooking this dude. I'm not going to lie, I would have been cooking him. But we'll let that one go for now. That pretty much ended the first half, though. And to be honest, I would say United had the better of the first half. Even if they had more possession, I don't know who had more shots in the first half, but I think they had the better chances. We had some solid chances too, but we just weren't taking them, and it felt like the pressure was on us. United were kind of playing freely because they'd given up on this league weeks ago. They're just playing for the Europa League, so it felt like we were playing with the pressure on our backs. We were playing a bit cagey, and United were just doing whatever they wanted because what do they have to lose, really? But yeah, the first half it wasn't looking great, but second half we came out a little bit better. First big moment of the second half, Tyreek George, who to me, didn't have much of an impact this game. Obviously, no Jackson because of the red card against Newcastle, and George starting up top. He's he's had some good performances in the Europa League, or not Europa League. I wish in the Conference League. And that's one of the good things about the Conference League. I feel like we've been able, because we have such a big squad, we've been able to see a bunch of different players get chances. And seeing a young player come through like Tyreek George has been nice to see. But clearly, you know, I don't want to say he's not at the level yet because it's just one game against United, of course. And no matter where United are in the table, it's always a tough game. But he just wasn't really having much of an impact for most of the game. But his first big moment was a big penalty shout, you know, a good ball through. He runs across Onana, gets to it first, and Onana takes him out, but also gets ball. To me, if they gave the penalty, it would have been really soft. So I'm not mad they disallowed that. A little bit after that, Emerim took off Mason Mount, which I was not expecting. I mean, I guess I get it because, you know, there's only so much fitness you can get out of Mount in the United kid. But I thought he was playing pretty well. He was the press that we know as Chelsea fans, that press that we love for us. He was hounding our attackers all over him, getting anywhere he needed to go, and he had some good chances too. He didn't take them, but he had some solid chances. I feel like he was getting on the end of things and starting some movements, but you know, he must have been gassed for running so much as he usually does. So Emram took him off. But shortly after that, the GOAT. The GOAT. The GOAT. Cucurella. That's, you know, that's what I call him. Cucurella. That's what I call him. I know people call him different things, but that's my guy. I don't know what he's been drinking, been eating since that not World Cup, the Euros. But especially the second half of the season, this guy cannot stop scoring. I'm not mad at it. Reece James, right outside the box, does a little pirouette, little spin, cooks Garnacho, leaves him touching earth almost. And then right off the spin, it's a nice little lofted cross to the back post. Cucurella, solid, just header across the keeper. 1-0, Chelsea. Onana was never saving that. And it's fullback to fullback. And honestly, I got to give Maresca his credit because a lot of this fullback play, our fullbacks are constantly pushing forward, part of the play, playing in those central areas. And in some ways, I don't love it because of how frail it leaves us defensively sometimes. But in other ways, when our attackers aren't getting it done, and I'm going to talk about them later, sometimes you just need your fullbacks to come in and save the day. And that's what James, Cucurella, beautiful. And it really shows Reece James can still make an impact when he's fit. It's great to see him play full games. And I never, honestly, there was a point in time where I never thought I'd see the day again where Reece James is playing full 90s solidly. But yeah, he was honestly one of our best players today. After that, honestly, there's not too much to talk about. I do think Cucurella's goal brought us to life. And then we see Chelsea pressing on. I thought we were going to get a second at points in time, even though maybe you could argue we should lock it down. But I think at the timing of the goal, it made sense for us to press for that second. And then, you know, when we started to lock it down into the 80th, 85th minute, it made a lot of sense. But there was another chance. Palmer, beautiful ball. I say beautiful ball all the time. But it was a clean through ball to Madueke. Went through, good first touch. And then he just guided again. Like, this guy, I just think his finishing was just poor. It was poor on the day. Good chances. I know we had limited options on the wings. We'll talk about that. It's the Sancho derby and him being ineligible for this game. But I think we recently found out that Sancho, his loan is an option, not an obligation. So big decision to be made there at the end of the season. After that, we saw George come off for Romeo Lavia. Solid defensive sub there from Maresca. Bruno came off. Seems like they were Emery was prioritizing saving Bruno for the Europa League, which I think is a smart choice because he wasn't really doing enough at that point in the game. And then Neto for Gusto, trying to see the game out. Although Gusto, you know, probably not the best defensive sub to make because this dude always plays like a winger anyway. But, you know, did see the game out. Toward the end of the game, though, Palmer once again driving forward, plays the ball through to Gusto, and he just, I don't know, he just lost his feet, stumbled. Dorgu stopped him, I guess, but no foul. Just fumbled a good chance on goal. But then there was a a quick pitch invader at the end of the game. He got cooked. He looked like he got speared by Goldberg or something. Yeah, saw the game out 1-0 to Chelsea. You love to see it. I'm gonna quickly get into some player performances before we hop into what this means for the league table. Cucurella, 7th goal this season. Beautiful, beautiful stuff, and he was solid defensively as well. Probably my man of the match. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna give Cucurella man of the match, the football casual man of the match to Cucurella. He was really solid. I would also say Caicedo was really good. Caicedo's always good. He's always really good. Solid 8 out of 10 every week. I'm giving him, if Cucurella didn't get that goal, he would have been up there too. As well as Reece James. Those three, I say, were probably our best players on the day. Just all around, both attack and defense. They do what they have to do. Palmer, after that, I thought he was solid again. No goal, no assists. But to me, that's not as big a deal as the performance. And I think he's performing well. He's creating chances. He could have had 2 assists, 3 assists this game, honestly. But people just aren't finishing the chances. I thought he was solid as well. Tyreek George, like I mentioned earlier, didn't have the impact I was hoping he would up top, but he's a young kid. I'm not going to hold that to him. We got the win at the end of the day. But I'm glad to see him start. And he played a solid amount of the game as well. But here's where I want to talk about Neto and Madueke. To me, and maybe this is more of a Enzo Maresca thing, I would have wanted to see them swap wings throughout the game. Or at least once, like swap wings. Clearly something wasn't clicking with the sides they were on. Swap them, see what happens. Maybe you swap them back. Maybe you go back and forth, keep United on their toes. I think managers need to do stuff like that a little more often, just to make the game a little bit more dynamic. Madueke on the left, and like I said, obviously we had no Sancho Darby, but Madueke on the left, he can beat his man going down the wing, but his cross isn't the best coming back inside. So losing the threat of him cutting onto his inside foot, which would be his left foot if he was on the right side, losing that threat, the defender never has to guard him coming in to the right off the left side, because he's not really going to take that shot with his right foot. So I don't know. I thought at this point in time it wasn't working, and it didn't look like we had a sub for him. So we were kind of stuck with that. But I would have liked to see him play on the left at some point in the game. And Neto, he's more two-footed, so I can understand why you want him on the right. He can get that cross in on his right. He can come back in on his left, do something. But I feel like because he's left-footed, he gets too comfortable. He gets too comfortable stopping, looking back, playing a pass back, and all of a sudden we're all the way back at Robert Sanchez. And I hate that style of football. It's not the winger play you want to see. But I thought he was decent. But I thought if he was on the left, if he beats his man, I think his cross on his left would have been better than his cross on his right, because he was just playing ball straight to Onana. So I don't know. These are little nitpicks, but these are some tactical things I would have liked to see from Maresca just to switch it up, especially because both of them can play on both sides. So why not take advantage of that? And on to United. Mount, like I said earlier, good pressing. Had a couple chances. I thought he was solid for United. Bruno created a couple chances here and there, but I think for the most part he's kind of a ghost. Wasn't doing too much. He was decent pressing defensively. Earned a yellow card. I thought overall United were super aggressive with these fouls, getting a lot of yellow cards. Maguire, honestly, Maguire was their most threatening attacker out of all of them, which is crazy to say, but it's true. The same way you could say Cucurella is our most threatening attacker, and in some instances, the same thing for Maguire for United. Dorgu, I thought, was getting active up and down that left wing. He covers a lot of ground, and I was honestly impressed with him. I don't think he was amazing, like his end product in the final third, it wasn't the best, but I thought he did well to kind of keep us in check on that right side for us, left side for them. And Ahmad, always a threat, played the full game. Didn't end up creating anything, but I thought he was a threat coming down. Cucurella and him had a good battle. He got the better of Cucurella in some instances, but it didn't end up leading to anything. Had a yellow card for simulation, which was funny, but yeah, I thought that was a good, solid battle. But I think that's why Cucurella especially is my man of the match, because he kept a player like Ahmad, who to me is honestly, well, okay, Bruno's their best player, but Ahmad's their most promising player. Kind of kept him in check, so I was happy with that. Some quick random things. Like I said, Sancho Derby, crazy. We saw him on the sideline wearing a New York hat. Take that off, bro. But yeah, and Tommy T was watching the game. I don't know if you guys caught that. They showed him sitting up in the stands back at the bridge. Reminded me of good times, good old days, those Champions League days. Obviously, he's there scouting for England, so I'm curious what he took from that game. But I was reminiscing a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Overall, though, I'd say Chelsea just looks so lost on set pieces. That's the one thing I realized from us watching this game, especially against United, who I feel like are weak against set pieces. I feel like we could have taken advantage of that a little bit more. We're like trying so many random things that just aren't effective, and we just look lost. I probably not the biggest fan of the way Arsenal glaze this Nicholas Jover guy, who they always show every time they get a set piece. But maybe we need someone like that, not him specifically, but someone like that who we know has set pieces on lock for the team, because I don't know, I felt like the set pieces today just weren't on it. But yeah, let's get into this league table. This is honestly what I mainly wanted to talk about. This top 5 race has been insane coming down to the last few weeks. For most of the league, obviously not the most entertaining in these last few months. Liverpool won the league basically before they even officially won it. We already knew they won the league. And these 3 teams have been so terrible that we knew they were getting relegated. So United and Spurs, who have also been horrendous, didn't even matter. They were able to just sack off the league and focus on the Europa League, because that gap is just ridiculous. There needs to do something to shorten that gap between the Championship and the Prem. But for this top 5 race especially, and technically I have to put Arsenal in it, which we wouldn't have expected a few months ago, but they're very much in it. Only 2 points ahead of Newcastle, and I believe Newcastle's next game is Arsenal. So that game could decide second place, which is crazy to say. The way Newcastle started the season, they were terrible. I think Eddie Howe was focused on that, essentially getting that England job, and he didn't get it. He said, all right, let's lock in. Obviously, they have way more losses from the start of the season. They have more wins than Arsenal. They're the second most wins in the league, which is impressive in itself. So if Newcastle gets second place, I wouldn't be upset at that. And I would not be too surprised at this point if they beat Arsenal. That's always a tough game for Arsenal. Obviously, Chelsea tied on points with Newcastle, but with the game in hand. So basically, if Newcastle beat Arsenal, they probably get second, I'm guessing. But Chelsea will be right there behind Arsenal on third if Newcastle get that win. So massive games there. Aston Villa also on 66 points, but today they beat Spurs. So both Aston Villa and Chelsea handling business today. That going to come down to the wire as well. They both have big games coming up. And City on 65 with a win, they go ahead of both of us. So, that's possible. But Bournemouth is not an easy game. And Forest, it's been fun to see them have such a good season. Even finishing 7th. Some people would have expected them to finish 17th. The fact that they're finishing 7th, if they do, still an amazing accomplishment. But they have fallen off a lot in these last few weeks. And even if they win their game, they're only going level on points with City if they lose. So a lot has to go right for Forest to get back in this top 5. Yeah, I mentioned a couple of them, but let's just look at these last few fixtures, because this is really what it's going to come down to end this league. Chelsea, obviously, you have Forest next weekend. That one's not going to be easy at all. Honestly, this is basically a cup game. This is our cup final. Winner gets Champions League football, likely. It depends on a lot of other results. This United win today was massive, but it depends on a couple other results. And we got to lock in for this. Forget about this, bro. Honestly, I don't care if we win or lose the Conference League. Obviously, we should win it, but lock in for this Forest game. To me, this is a more important cup final than the Conference League. Do not rest any players for this. Go for it, full out. And obviously, if we lose, then we lose, and then we go and try to win the Conference League. But I think we should be prioritizing this Forest game over anything. But yeah, that's our last game of the season. I will be locked in, and there will be a video for that. So if you're interested, do come check back in, because I will be watching that game for sure. That's a must win for us. But in a Conference League final, obviously. Hopefully we win that, but I honestly cannot care less. Who cares about that competition? But if we do win it, I'm going to be gassed, because that's another European trophy. Arsenal currently in second. They play Newcastle, like I said. That one up in the air. I can honestly see either team winning that. Them getting a draw against Liverpool was honestly big. I thought there was a chance they lose that game, but Liverpool seemed to have just been on vacation, honestly. If Arsenal win that, Then they play Southampton in the last game. They should absolutely win that game. So really, this is their big last game of the season, and that could really go either way, honestly. So this pretty much decides second. Newcastle's kind of similar to Arsenal in the sense that that game is pretty much the game for second. Everton, I would say, is a way tougher game than Southampton on paper. So even if they beat Arsenal, they could still have a blip. And if Arsenal beat Southampton, which they should, Newcastle, let me see the math on that. Newcastle beat Arsenal, they go to 69, and then Arsenal 68. And then if Newcastle, say, draw against Everton, they're on 70. Then Arsenal on 68, they go to 71. So that's tough. So basically, even if Newcastle beat Arsenal, they still pretty much have to beat Everton. And I'm going to assume Arsenal are going to beat Southampton. So that's a tough one. Villa, they obviously just beat Spurs. They only have one game left, and that's United. And like we saw today, United could be a blip for anyone. Even if Villa are way clear of them, way clearly the better team, that's not a guaranteed win. So even if that's a draw, that's massive for Chelsea, because Chelsea have the toughest last game of the season in Forest, honestly. City, upcoming, they have Bournemouth in the league. That's not an easy game. That clearly, you would have expected them to beat Southampton. That would have put them in a great position to end the season. But they drew against Southampton, which was, what the hell. They had the Crystal Palace in the FA Cup final. That's also not a gimme. So they have to focus some attention on that. That leads them into the Bournemouth game. And then Fulham to end the season. None of those games are guaranteed. These are all mid-table sides that are pretty solid. We're at Crystal Palace. 12th, 11th, and 10th they're going up against. Those aren't easy games either. I would say Chelsea's are the harder ones, but none of those are guaranteed because City aren't performing the way you think they should against these lower teams. So, I don't know. I would have said maybe a couple weeks ago, City looked like they're in a solid position to even finish second, maybe. And that's not impossible. That's not impossible mathematically. But with these results, I'm expecting at least one draw in there. So we'll see about that. The City historically finished the season strong, so we'll see. That Southampton game probably has the City fans a little worried. And lastly, Forest. Obviously, they have West Ham, who, West Ham, where are they in the league? West Ham are 15th. Not in the best of form, ever since, I think, Potter came in. Not exactly what you expected. Not the best from them. But it doesn't mean that's a guaranteed win. That could be a draw for them. You never know. Because, as you can see, Forest have been getting some draws recently. Especially against Leicester. Now, you wouldn't have expected that. They lost against Brentford. They're not a guaranteed dub either. Like you would have thought earlier in the season. So, that may be a blip. And obviously against us, last game of the season. Assuming they beat West Ham, this is the cup final. If they lose against West Ham or even draw, that becomes a very interesting game. But yeah, that I'm really going to be locked in for this game. What is it? 11 a.m. on the 25th? We're locked in. We're locked in. That's going to be a massive game. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are pretty much my takeaways from this game. Fun game to watch. A little bit cagey at times, but both teams had chances. And obviously Chelsea came out with the dub, so I'm gassed. This league table is getting absolutely crazy to end the season. Hopefully, we lock in Forest game. Everyone fit. Get up back at it. Forget about the Conference League. We do not need to focus on that as much as we need to focus on the Forest game. This is our cup final. Lock in. Come on, the Blues. We're almost there. Let's get it. Lock in. Thanks for watching. Especially if you made it this far. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to be back to the Forest game, like I said. Drop in the comments your predictions for this top 5 ending of the season, because it's absolutely wild. Let me know if I'm waffling about anything, because like I said, I am the football casual. And I forgot to do the intro, actually. But yeah, not a big deal. See you guys next time. Peace.